found out my husband was in love with his friend, so I made her my best friend, and now he is no one. We'd been married 3 years when I finally stopped pretending I didn't see it. Every single time she walked into a room, my husband transformed into a completely different person. Louder, funnier, more present, more alive, like someone had finally bugged him in. With me, he was fine, comfortable, checked out in that quiet way that you convince yourself is just what marriage feels like after the honeymoon phase fades. With her, he was electric. And I mean that in the way that makes your stomach drop when you realize you've never once made your own husband light up like that. Her name doesn't matter for this story. What matters is the pattern, the way his eyes tracked her when she crossed a room, the way he laughed harder at her jokes, the way he'd go quiet for a second before answering her, like he was actually thinking about what to say instead of just filling silence. I noticed all of it. I filed all of it away in that part of your brain you try really hard not to open. I told myself I was insecure, told myself I was projecting, told myself that men and women can be close friends and it means nothing, and I was being one of those wives. I gave myself that speech probably 200 times over 3 years. The night it finally cracked open, we were home, drinking cheap wine, watching some terrible holiday movie neither of us actually wanted to watch. I got in my feelings the way you only do when you're a little drunk and a little tired of holding things together. I asked him straight out if he had feelings for her, just like that. No build-up, no argument leading to it, just asked. He didn't deny it. He told me he'd been in love with her since high school, that he'd tried to be with her more than once over the years and she'd turned him down every time, that he thought those feelings were buried, that he thought marrying me meant he'd moved on. I sat with that for about 10 seconds. Then I asked him the question I already knew the answer to. If she came to him tomorrow and said yes, would he leave me? He told me I was being dramatic, that I was making up hypothetical scenarios designed to hurt my own feelings. That non-answer was the clearest answer he ever gave me. What happened next is the part people never expect when I tell this story. I didn't scream, I didn't throw anything, I didn't spiral into a weeks-long depression, though that did come later in smaller doses. What I did was think clearly, maybe for the first time in years, and what I kept coming back to was this. She hadn't done anything wrong. He had. He was the one who married me while carrying feelings for someone else. He was the one who spent 3 years making me feel like I wasn't quite enough without ever explaining why. He was the one who suggested more than once that I cut my hair to look more like hers, that I dress differently, that I tone myself down, small comments, the kind that don't leave bruises but absolutely leave marks. She didn't know any of that. I realized I'd been low-key resenting a woman who had no idea what was being done in her name, so I called her, not to confront her, not to warn her or recruit her or make her feel guilty. I called her because something in my gut said she deserved to know what had actually been going on, and because I think some part of me recognized that she was one of the only people in my life who had seen this marriage up close and might actually understand it. She picked up on the second ring. We talked for 4 hours that first night. She told me she knew vaguely that he'd had feelings for her at some point, but she'd written it off as an old teenage thing that had long since passed. She had no idea he'd been making comparisons, no idea about the hair comments, no idea that he'd been holding me up against her like some kind of measuring stick for 3 years and letting me come up short every single time. When I told her, she went quiet in a way that felt like real anger, not performed outrage. She was furious, completely and specifically furious, at him, not at me. The divorce took 8 months. It was clean as divorces go, which means it still wasn't clean. There were hard nights, there were moments I second-guessed everything. There were weeks where I felt like I'd lost a marriage and a version of myself at the same time. But the friendship took about a week to feel completely real. She checked on me constantly during those 8 months, showed up with food when I didn't ask, talked me through the legal stuff, sat on my kitchen floor with me at midnight more than once while I worked through the kind of grief that doesn't have a clean name. She is genuinely one of the most loyal, funny, sharp people I have ever known in my life. I think about the years I spent quietly resenting her and I feel almost embarrassed. She was never the problem. She was never even close to the problem. He texted her about 6 weeks ago. Casual. Hey, haven't talked in a while. How are you? The kind of message designed to feel low stakes, so you can't call it what it is. She screenshot it and sent it to me before she even responded. We got on a call and laughed until we were both crying. Not mean laughter. More like the kind that comes from finally being completely free of something that used to have weight. He thought he was reaching out to the woman he always wanted. He had no idea she'd already picked a side. He lost the woman he married and the woman he spent 20 years wanting. We got each other. And honestly, I think we both got the better end of that deal.